We went from 60 grand to 90 to 150, and then once we hit about $1 million.
In this episode, Adam Linforth and I break down his company, Budgie Smugglers. We go deep into exactly how he was able to actually create what he calls the vibe of the company.
For me, the most important thing about the brand is the vibe. The key thing in all of our marketing and communications that we tried to do was things that are remarkable.
We also go into his timeline of success. The guy's been building this business for over a decade now, and he loves what he does with so much passion.
It took about nearly 10 years from then before it was profitable. So it was a long, yeah, well, I enjoyed it, right? So that made it a lot easier.
And the last thing that we went into, which is really impactful and very important, is the strategic ways that you can actually reach out to the influencers, the ambassadors, the partners that you want for your brand.
I'd say a simple way is to gift the product to some people that you like. Every time I'd send a pair to a player, I would do it.
Adam, explain to us what a budgie smuggler is, please, sir.
Yeah, well, I guess the literal definition is a budgie being a budgerigar, a native Australian bird,
yep.
And a smuggler, to conceal or hide. So a budgie smuggler is to conceal or hide a small bird. In this case, it's probably referring to a man's penis.
Got it.
And one of the funny things that happens, we were talking just before we jumped on about how it's received in different parts around the world, the sort of self-deprecating Australian humour. And English get it, French get it, lots of places get it. But for whatever reason in the States, it was like, what's a budgie smuggler?
Yeah.
And you explain it, and then they go you've chosen a small bird. Why would you choose a small bird? And it's like, oh, it's just making a joke about yourself. And they're like, why would you joke about that? It's like, and then they're like, you should do an eagle or a falcon smuggler. That would be amazing. So US sales haven't taken off yet, but I reckon we'll get there, and we can change the cultural mindset. Just might take a wee bit of time.
Decades.
Yeah.
Amazing brand you've built. Can you maybe share a little bit about perhaps the inception of the idea? Because it's bold, it's kind of controversial, it's not for everybody, but radically for some people. You know what I mean? So how did the idea kind of first come into inception?
Yeah, so it started coming up to 20 years ago now. So it was just some blokes in a backyard who thought it would be funny to literally write Budgie Smuggler on the back of a pair. And then the idea clicked. Oh, I wonder if we could set that up as a online business and get the trademark for the word, which was probably one of the important things. And there was actually two other blokes outside of me who were the main guys, and then they got serious jobs. And after a few years, I took the business over 100% from them. So that was 15 years ago. And I thought I'd be a millionaire in a couple of years. And 7-8 years later, I still had a full-time job.
Wow.
So it was a long time to get it from literally in a walk-in robe in my home to eventually I moved out of the bedroom, and that was our office. Then we took over the bedroom next door, and then we took over the apartment. But yeah, that was a sort of decade journey, and it was 8 years of me having a full-time job before I had got the business to a point where the sort of side hustle, I guess it's called now, was big enough to support an income. So try not to take that long, but if it isn't happening in 1 or 2 years, I think that's a pretty common thing.
What how did you stick through that? Because I'm like, that's a fucking long time. 8 years of just punishment.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed it, right? So that made it a lot easier. It was fun. I was rowing surf boats. I was traveling around the country, bringing a little Coles or Woolies shopping bag with me, selling them to all the surf boat crews around the country. It was something to talk about. We started putting on some parties and events and things like that. So it gave me a lot of energy as well as being hard work. I remember one time, what happened? We got an order from City Beach, which is big for us at that time. Maybe it was 800 units or something like that, and they all had to be swing tagged. and I'd never swing tagged or barcoded anything before. And so I started after my full-time job at about 5 p.m. and it went till about 2:30, 3 a.m. And I just remember like being there almost in tears, and I was rowing surfboats, so I had to get up 5:30.
Oh my God.
Go row, send them at the post office on the way into work. And it was very unsustainable, but I was sort of 25 or something like that. So I had enough energy to get through. And then thankfully now we've got that all a little bit more automated, so it's more sustainable.
What was the how did you start getting the product out initially? Like in those early, did you use digital means? Because I know you're really big with like partnerships, collaborations, these associations that you have now. But was it always like that?
So I was so broke at the start that I used to charge people to be in the Photoshoots, but I'd give them like half price pairs.
Wait, hang on. You charge them to be in the photo shoot?
Well, they pay like $20 for the pair instead of $40.
Oh, got it.
Like I was broke, and we made everything in Australia, so it was really high. It was almost a higher cost of production back then because everything was manual. Now we've automated a lot of the manufacturing, and like there's laser cutters and stuff where you just press a button and it keeps going. But before you had to manually like seal all of the logos onto the product. So it was a lot of time and effort. But what were the main ways? Like we had a lot of luck with sports players wearing the brand. That wasn't something that I'd originally thought of as a means to get out a swimwear product.
Right.
Because I think if most people think of Budgie Smuggler who know us, they'll associate it with rugby league or rugby, sometimes cricket. The only thing those sports have in common is they don't have anything to do with water. And that wasn't by design initially. I did try and get it to swimmers, and I did try and get it into pools.
Right.
But a lot of the pools had contracts with Speedo or other big manufacturers, and you were kind of like locked out of them. And so it was just punching, trying to find different ways to get the product in people's hands. And then I think one of the first breakthroughs was Berwick Barnes's manager, was a Wallaby player, Queensland Reds player, came to us, and we couldn't afford any sort of partnership, but we got him a pair, and that was the start of, I guess, some seeding with footballers, and then some of them became kind of iconic. So the most iconic of them was a bloke called George Rose, who played for the Manly Seagulls. Great fella, and it helped us to take off because he was kind of rotundly built.
Right.
And so they moved to the really tight jerseys, but he would get dacked almost every tackle. And then the commentators started asking him what pairs he was going to be wearing each week, and it became a bit of a thing. So, athletes really helped us. Like, this was kind of when Instagram was starting. So it was actually just a lot of user-generated content. We just sort of encouraged people to wear them around the world, reposted the photos. It was that simple, and I think it was more simple then because the organic reach was just easier to do. It's a little bit more gamified maybe now. So, user-generated content and sports were two really helpful ways.
What were some of the bigger partnerships, collaborations, or things that you've noticed the biggest impact from in the company's growth?
Yeah, so one of the things about doing it with the sports codes is now like we've got formal partnerships with them, so they earn a royalty from people smuggling in them as well. So that's helped, if you want it to be a win-win situation.
Yep.
Some of the brand ones that have done well. So yeah, definitely those sports ones, like the Wallabies was the first, and then the NRL after that, now the AFL. Some different ones for us have been some alcohol companies. So VB and Forex are two of them. And so I guess we're seeking to be a brand that Australians love, Australians are proud of. And so connecting with other brands that have similar values or history, and I love both of those brands. So they've been two where you can't really do like a straight ROI on it. True. But the brand association, we try and create really good copy and campaigns and stuff to make people feel something. So yeah, we've got a few plans in the works with them this summer as well.
I think it's really like admirable. Like I think about like the simplicity of the product. You know what I mean? Like a pair of like DTs, or a pair of like swim trunks togs. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I look at like the feeling, the emotion, the humor, all of that comes with the experience of wearing them. Like I had a particular friend of mine, and I remember probably maybe 6 or so years ago, he started wearing them, and I was just like, not outraged, but I'm like, this is wild. Why the fuck would you wear this? And it was like such a big standout thing. He was like the joker of the group. He'd always be on the beach, and he's like, Budgie Smugglers.
Yeah.
And it just like creates that kind of impact. It's like that icebreaker. It's like people remember it. People talk about it. Like it seems really effective in terms of like being able to actually grab that attention.
Yeah. So like how we helped to make that happen, I guess, was most brands, when they go to partner with an athlete or seed an athlete product, they focus on who's the team captain, who's the best looking player in the team, that sort of thing. The way we went about it, and still go about it, is who's the player that sings the team song. They're the, who do we go to when it's where we're going for a drink after the game? That's the actual leader of the group. So for Budgie in that phase, it was about getting on kind of the characters in the group to hopefully then open the door for their mates. Like if you go from wearing Budgie Smugglers to shorts, like there's a reason women don't wear shorts to the beach. Like it feels deathly uncomfortable. I think once you've experienced the freedom, it's pretty hard to go back to wearing shorts. Yeah.
Well, I said to Brianna before this episode, I'm like, Adam seems like the type of guy that would be down to wear some Budgie Smugglers on the podcast. I'm sitting right now, and I'm like, I'm pretty cold, and I'm like, it'd be a very small budgie right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think that would be good.
No, the climate is not in either of our favour.
Not appropriate,
unfortunately. Yeah. So I'll keep. Okay, Matt, I would have done it 100%. I'm in our underwear. If you're interested,
give us 2 seconds, bam. Oh, the guy's prepared. Something I prepared earlier.
A very subtle logo. There you go.
What happened to the F1? There was some situation where a whole bunch of you guys got arrested, or
yeah. No, sorry. Well, I was not there, just for the record. But no, we had a diplomatic incident. So this group of blokes who went on holidays every year, they used to just like turn up at the airport. You bring your passport and your wallet, and someone tells you where you're going. And so bloke turned up. They go, we're going to the Malaysia Grand Prix, and he'd got them all Malaysian flag Budgie Smugglers.
Right.
And so the race is going on. Everyone's having a great time. And then on the very last lap, Daniel Ricciardo, an Australian driver, a lot of listeners will know, came to the lead, won the race, and so these guys all stripped down into their smugglers and were drinking beers. And everyone thought it was sort of hilarious at the time. But unfortunately, there was a bloke there whose job it was to uphold the spirit of Malaysia. And he thought that it might have been a stunt to kind of embarrass Malaysia.
Got it.
And one of the guys worked in politics. And then when they found that out, they thought, oh, definitely, this is a like Australian stunt to embarrass Malaysia or make it look like everyone's just drinking and that. So it didn't go down well, and they ended up in jail for three nights, served a fish head and a cup of rice each day. And then they figured out, this was not planned at all, and they made it safely home. Right. So it was a stressful time, because obviously we didn't want to cause a diplomatic incident, but yeah, it ended up with like crazy coverage. And then we got so many inquiries from Malaysia of people wanting to buy the pair, which was the most counterintuitive thing. It's like, mate, we're just not going to sell them. We'll just leave this to pass with time.
Yeah. What things would you say, like based on what you've learned about the brand and the company that you built, that you think that perhaps like new founders could learn from or do more of? Because I'm like, you have such a unique company, a unique message to market, unique demographic. The way that the product is marketed is very unique, right? So it's like, and I think it tells such a strong story that people love and get behind. So are there some like maybe key messages behind the brand, the humor, the story that you've built that you think perhaps new founders need to do more of in today's current economy?
Yeah, well, I'd always say that like human beings love stories and understand their lives through stories. So it's something we're revisiting now, but trying to build a genuine story. And I kind of if we're not growing at the rate I want, I'm like, oh, well, we're building history sort of thing. Like the longer it goes, the more stories that our brand's kind of accumulating. So as long as we're accumulating interesting things, like mentioned before, like we were early on board with the Batuta Advocate, so we were their first paid sponsor. We were the first on board with Ned Brockman and his run across Australia. So creating history and stories is really important. If there was things that I do like a little bit differently, and I'm probably getting better at now, is some mentorship and like consultants kind of involved. So we had an experience 3 years ago, where we had a consultant come in and he looked at the business and he goes, you've got like the highest brand love of pretty much any brand I've ever seen. You've got, but you lose money for 5 months or 4 or 5 months of the year. And your main product, which is men's swimwear, the purchase cycle's every 2.5 years. So he's like, your business is terrible. Wow. And I was like, oh, hang on. A simple, like, needs improvement. I feel like getting a participation certificate in like one of those Commonwealth Bank high school exams. It's like, thanks for coming, mate. He's like, yeah, your business is terrible. And I was like, okay. But in those months, we make money. We've got a business in France and the UK. I'm like, they make money. He goes, yeah, but they lose money for 7 months of the year. They're terrible. They're even worse. I was like, fuck. So he's got a point. But it was like, how did it take us so long to realize that? So then he was like, well, there's different ways you can attack it. You can attack it like forced obsolescence. Like Apple's probably a good example of that, where they're changing like little things. So you need to update your charges and everything more often. You can reduce quality. So people's purchase cycle has to be higher, but
Bosch, I think that with the drills, they reduced the quality of the brushes, and then they had to replace the drill more frequently.
Exactly. So so they weren't paths we were prepared to go down. But then he's like, well, you've got a brand people really like, so you just need to figure out how to communicate that through other products. So that's the sort of the journey we're on. But because we make all our swimwear here, we can turn around a new design in 2 weeks. But doing product development from the ground up wasn't something that I'd done before, but we've been doing that over the past couple of years, and now apparel's sort of 25% of our business, which is, I used to complain sometimes. We had, Sydney's our main market. If anyone remembers the floods 3 years ago along the East Coast, like, what's it, Lismore and that. Yeah. So it rained for like 3 or 4 months. You couldn't swim in a lot of the ocean on the East Coast, and it just sort of stuck with me. Like, I can't keep blaming the weather. And that's when we got Paul, what is his name, and forced us to look at the business and go like, all right, how do we have a way that we've got a sustainable business that isn't so reliant on the weather? So I would have got more help in, even if it's just someone like an hour or 2 hours a week, it can be one of the best investments, or get someone in for a 3-month stint. Like, I definitely find getting more outside help in is helpful.
How do you, in terms of like, I want to just go back to like the collaborations, partnerships and things like that, because I think you guys do it so well, and you've got, amazing presence in a lot of different areas there. So how would you, like, say, for example, I'm a new founder and I've got a brand and I want to, start building more of these affiliations, associations, partnerships, collaborations with, whether it's athletes or whoever it might be, maybe it's just influencers. Like, is there a particular strategy that you use to maybe like identify the person and then go after them through, I don't know, sending them the product, or how do you kind of get it into their hands and create that relationship with them?
Yeah. So, I'd say a simple way is to like gift the product to some people that you like. Not all of them are going to love whatever you're doing. So for the first probably 10 years, every time I'd send a pair to a player, I would do a handwritten note saying, "Hey, it's Linny here from Budgie Smuggler. Loved your game against team X, Y, and Z," because I'm a fan of sports as well. Here's a gift for you. And then this is the hard one, like, don't expect anything in return. I never asked for anything. So I used to work around the corner from where the studio is today in Redfern. Aboriginal people have had a big influence on my life, and in all our Aboriginal languages in Australia, there's no word as like please or thank you. You're just expected to look after the community, and the community looks after you. So it's a slower way to do it because you're just hoping to find those people who really love your brand. But when they do, then they're probably going to look after you more than, especially in those early stages, that you could ever afford. So I would be doing it with sort of like some handwritten notes, showing that you're not a PR company sending out hundreds of these things or thousands of these things. Find the people that you think will resonate with the brand. Tell them share your story. It takes 10 minutes to do a card. Like, chuck a Polaroid of you in it, like setting the order, and that they'd be kind of things that I'd be doing. Which are going to be harder. Like, big brands can't replicate it. That's your superpower at the start. Like, most people know what it's like to battle or to try and start something. A lot of athletes now are starting their own podcasts or little brands, so they'll have some sense of that. So, be human. Everyone's like keyboard warrior, sending email. Like, I used to be, the job that I had for 10 years was sort of raising money for Indigenous education. And there's a saying, like, from a famous fundraiser, like, you don't get milk from a cow by sending an email. So I feel like, don't know how they came to that analogy, but find people, show love, share your own story, put like human, like signs of love, like a handwritten letter or a Polaroid, and that's a way that you can be different.
What have been some of the challenges that you found in terms of I guess just like the different stages of growth? Because it sounds like you went through kind of like a slow and steady period in those initial years, 8 years or thereabouts, when you were building kind of gradually. And I can imagine like you as an entrepreneur would have had to adjusted quite tremendously in terms of skill sets or things that you needed to learn or challenges that you need to overcome. Was there some things that really stood out to you in terms of challenging times?
I'd always say, like, if you can, save more cash than you think you'll need. When you're sitting on money, you've got time and space, and we kind of made the error of, we were growing at like 30 to 50% for 10, 12 years, and then that started to come off to 25 to 30%, but we kept the cost base going up at 25 to 30%, And then we had 1 year where it went down, which was the flood year. And then we also purchased like a massive property. And so it was like, it was terrible timing, but that was hard. I don't know, like the old Bill Gates, when he started Microsoft, was to try and have the cash. And I know this won't be possible for everyone, but have the cash to pay all his engineers for 6 months or something like that. Like, so we're in like a kind of rebuilding phase of that at the moment. What else did I find hard? Like, there's like different sizes of businesses that are hard and easy, but like I think military units like the SAS and stuff, they're often like 6 or 7 people, and that seems such a good size where you know what everyone's doing. And then we're at like 25, 30 full time at the moment, and it's probably been awkward through that period because we're not big enough to have all these systems and structure in place. And our general manager who's a beast, but he's meeting with like 10, 12 people per week, one-on-one. It's so the phase we're in at the moment is actually getting a few kind of heads of units and getting a more like traditional, almost corporate structure. And then like I like doing all the fun, pretty pictures and ideation kind of stuff, and then you get stuck doing like tax and legal issues and like it's been we just can't. I think I can talk about it.
Let's do it. Let's go with it.
Yeah, like things were going fantastic in France, and then we might have taken a few pictures inside the stadiums, which we didn't quite realise was against the rules of the tournament and the country, I guess. Yeah. And then we ended up in a bit of a legal dispute, which we managed to resolve. But then that takes up a lot of your, and actually the French legal system, I will give them a shout out. They're quite fair. But it's still super, super stressful. And so, sometimes you end up in fighting battles when actually all you wanted to do was make fun swimwear that made people happy, have a place that people like coming to work. And, a legal case or two can throw in financial pressure, and then it feels more like a business. So, I don't have haven't probably quite got the right balance for that at the moment. We're going through a bit of a shift to try and get back that sense of fun versus I think we've had like a bit of sense of urgency at the moment, trying to grow and build the business in what's kind of, it's probably not a terrible market, but it's not like free COVID money market. So, if you read that AFR or any of the papers, you're just seeing businesses going broke left, right, and centre. So
highest like liquidation rate.
Is
crazy.
it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It just feels like even in our local area, like lots of businesses I thought were really cool, are done. So
I saw a story recently. The ice bath company Odin. Like they were massive. All massive influencers had them, and one of my friends, actually a client of mine, he was telling me last night he has one, and he tried emailing them, and he's like, hey, like I'm trying to like fix my product. You know what I mean? The cooler's broken. Tried replying to them on Instagram, something, no reply. Looked it up online, and it's like they're all in liquidation.
Yeah,
it's
so
like
it's a tough time. So like a lot of the advice I got given early, like cash is king, build your cash balance. Those rules are especially important now.
Is in terms of like skill set wise, because like you strike me as the marketing type of like thinker in terms of like how can we do this partnership, how can we bring fun and energy into the product and get that into the market, how can we approach these kinds of partnerships? Do you find that you've played more to that strength of like driving that, or you've had to also like learn the finance skill, learn the other operational type skills as well to kind of fill those gaps?
Yeah, I'm okay on the I'm okay on the finance side, but I'm not an operational person at all. Like I'm terrible, and when I do get involved in it, it sends everyone crazy. So again, that's about like sort of learning our structure again. For me, the most important thing about the brand is the vibe. So that's where most of my energy is building the intangible like vibe and how people feel about Budgie Smuggler, and that hopefully it means something to them. And then also just being frank that, I don't have the skills on the operation side, and I need to just not do that almost at all, which is hard because I want to like chime in on, we've got Slack, which probably a lot of the listeners have as well. And like, I was just peppering on these threads, and I start work quite early. So I normally go to the gym at 5, and then I'm at the coffee shop at 6, and then I don't get home till like 8. So that's a lot of like quiet time to be peppering people's like Slack channels with ideas.
Tornado the Slack channels.
Yeah. So I've had to put my keyboard back, and I didn't need to be doing that some of the time. So I've stepped back from that now, and it's actually been great freedom. So I'm doing more like storytelling, because like we're doing so many cool things. Like we've just become like the major swim partner for the Remote Pools Project, which is opening pools in remote areas. And so like that's a cool story to tell about, but like we've been doing it for 6 months, and we've done one like short email. So I was like, we actually need to put some investment sharing with our community around what we're doing there. Like it's an incredible story. Like a lot of these pools had shut down, and they're being reopened. They've got swimming lessons for kids. We're helping with free volunteer swimming teachers. They've got like aqua aerobics for elders, and it's like a real community hub and bringing lots of life and laughter and happiness in these communities. So but no one knows that you're doing it. Like one thing that really struck me lately was we've just started doing like proper brand tracking around people's understanding and perception of Budgie Smuggler. And so the first question they know is like, do you know Budgie Smuggler is a company? And so I thought is a swimwear company or something like that. And so I would have thought that, I don't know, maybe half or more of people would know us. So Speedo was at just over 75. I think that was 76%. And then we were at 32% or something like that. So I was like, wow, like 70% of Australia doesn't know we exist. So there's a long way to go in the storytelling. And maybe when you're in your own bubble, you think you're a little bit bigger than you are. So yeah, we're on the journey now to be like, oh, how do we get that to 40, 50 over the next couple of years?
You mentioned like you're the guy that kind of creates the vibe. What like how would you define that? Like what would be like a company's vibe if you were to kind of like try and like describe that in a way that someone would be like, what's my company's vibe? How do I create that kind of vibe? Like what is that intangible sense of what people fall in love with?
Yeah, well, like for Budgie, like we said about doing it, the key thing in all of our marketing and communications that we tried to do was things that are remarkable. And so remarkable in the literal sense of the word, so worth making a remark about. So like all our swimwear's made in Australia, like that's something to make a remark about. Swimwear designs all used to be like black, navy, red. Let's do something outrageous like a fucking unicorn. What's it? A unicorn. I think we've got the latest pair is a unicorn with freaking laser beams. That's like our top seller in France at the moment. So let's do all these things that are remarkable. And then there's definitely something around like community for us as well. So even in those years when we weren't making money, we were donating to lots of different community causes and like.
So you're doing that even though the company's like not making money, you're still.
Yeah. And then the Ned Brockman story is crazy because I met him at a pub and committed, I think it was 10 grand or something like that as the first like paid sponsor for him. But we were broke at the time, so I had to borrow the money to pay. That was during the flood. Like, yeah, I had to pay the money to sponsor a bloke who'd never run 100Ks to run across Australia. So sometimes you take a punt, and it works out spectacularly.
Wait, so you met him, and then he hadn't even run 100Ks before, and then he told you the story of what he's going to do.
Yeah. He'd done 50 marathons in 50 days, and he said, mate, I think I can run across Australia. I'm going to. He goes, I thought the record was 43 days, but apparently I think it's like 36 or something. So I'm going to have to try and run 100Ks a day to do it. And I was like, have you done that before? He's like, not yet, but I've got a practice run coming up in a couple of days. So yeah, we got on board. And then for people who followed that story, after 6 days, his body just totally blew up. He had to drive 12 hours to a hospital, get a scan, 12 hours back. And then he took a needle or something to release the most acute part of it. And then he ran 800 Ks the next 8 days after that, and then made it to Sydney in 39 days or something like that. So, yeah, that's one where we took a punt. The first athlete we ever sponsored was a guy called Tim Reed. So I met his mates at a music festival, Falls Festival, and they were wearing Smugglers, and I went up and said g'day, and they go, oh, you've got to sponsor our mate Tim. He wants to become a professional triathlete. And the only thing I knew about triathletes was they need to be able to run and they need to be crazy, because it's just like a brutal sport, especially the endurance Ironman and half Ironman. And so we became his sponsor, and he then became the Australian Ironman champion and won the world championship, like 6 hour world championship, half Ironman, maybe 5 or 6 years later.
Wow.
So yeah, we've been lucky to take a couple of punts that have done well, and sometimes you get lucky, and then we've taken others that haven't progressed the same. So it's not a perfect science, but you just go with a hunch. Try and find people who sort of believe what you believe and have the right vibe for your brand. And if your like radar, your antennas up, like vibe's not right, then the best time to bail is immediately. Don't try and convince yourself. Yeah. Big vibesman. I like the vibe.
And how would you like recommend somebody can shape their vibe? Like, it's like, does that just come naturally, you think, to the founder as like, this is my product, this is what I brought to market, this is my feeling behind what I want to achieve? Because I know a lot of people, they struggle with like the idea of like, okay, I've got this product, and sometimes initially it can just be about making money. You know what I mean? And they're like, hey, I don't have any money and I want to make some money, and this seems like a good idea. And then you kind of build it a little bit and you're like, wow, there's a lot more to this. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like they're almost two different strategies. So we've probably underinvested in marketing over the years in favor of the brand and the vibe. And I'm hoping in the later years we'll have such a good history that we'll be like LVHM or something like that. So coincidentally, I do think about those great French brands and how they create their storytelling and their history. But yeah, I think if you can be authentic, so like I didn't do it a lot initially, but get behind the microphone or the camera and just like show who you are. People love giving to people and buying from people with a story. So that helps. And then, we didn't have really a scalable, and still don't, paid marketing strategy, just because our main product people buy every 2.5 years. So if your product's like a higher turnover product or fast moving good, then get someone in to coach you and look at how you can hammer the paid marketing spend maybe a bit more. So, yeah, I've probably been too vibesman and too brand storytelling community, and I haven't really worried about making money. And then and that's gone okay.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of brands that are 5x bigger than us that have been around for 5 years instead of 15, 20 years.
Right.
So I don't have the I haven't done it all in the way that's been optimized to make money. Like if I was a private equity company looking at Budgie, it'd be like, mate, you've underspent X, Y, and Z here. And we're trying to figure that out now, how we put our foot on the accelerator a little bit more. But it didn't make sense for us when we were selling 80-90% of sales were just men's swimwear, which blokes buy every 2 or 3 years.
Sure. What would be some maybe like key strategic decisions that you would do differently? Say, for example, if you had all the knowledge and skill set now, and you wanted to grow quicker or achieve higher company revenues in less time, how would you play differently? Yeah.
So like I never looked at a budget until like 3 or 4 years ago. So that is a mistake.
Explain why.
Well, when you're growing at 30, 40, 50%, all I needed to know was don't spend more money than the year before and we're going to be sweet. Or, we'll do another 30, 40%. But when you're at, let's say 10 million, like generating another $3 or $4 million is like, doesn't just happen. It's, what is that? 10, it's like, 50 grand, 60 grand a week. Like it's 10 grand a day. Like you can't just turn it on. So you need like a plan and a budget. I'd never looked at our margins before. So, I mean, for clothing, like I think we had some stuff at 80%, but then we had lots of stuff at like 50%, 40%. It's like, if you've got a 50% margin, it's going to be really, really hard to ever make money. So like rule of thumb, but try and get 70%. We didn't negotiate terms with suppliers at the start. So we had terrible terms as we were getting stuff from overseas. So that was becoming a bit of an impediment on cash. So try and get a sense of what terms might be suitable in your industry and be upfront and try and get them at the start. Margin, terms, and then if you can figure out like a system or a flywheel where you're really in control of your marketing spend, I think we're doing a lot of vibes, a lot of community stuff, a lot of like we've got a spa on a trailer that we take to football games. Like there's a lot of things you can't really measure in what we do, sponsoring. But part of something we're working on now is just like trying to figure out that overall mix and filter it to get that right balance of vibe with the actual return.
And so I think it's like I look at it because a lot of the brands that work in my community or brands that I've worked with, like they're more so, I would say, super on the paid performance marketing. And then I have some, like probably a lesser percentile of brands that are kind of, they do some vibes-based things, but very little, you know what I mean? What would you say, like, I'm not sure, have there been a few, or if you were to say like a few vibes or community or, spa on the back of the ute type situations that have been like the most impactful, or do you think it's like case by case for each brand? Like each brand has a different customer, they need to do different events or need to do different sponsorships. Like have there been some things that have just really driven it home from a kind of a vibe perspective?
That's a really good question. So the most successful probably event we've done in terms of like galvanizing people and getting great engagement and love's been the search for Australia's most ordinary rig. We've done this. We've done a worldwide search now as well. So that's like basically looking for the most average physiqued man in Australia and then we pull the top 10 from around the country into a Miss World meets Victoria's Secret pageant. It was at Ivy. And that's probably been one, like, you know, each of the contestants makes their own wings. So you've got all these guys doing arts and crafts with, you know, fishing rods. And so that's been something that's been super effective for galvanizing the community. So them, and then, you know, we try to partner with things people love. So, you know, beer, sports, and they're also things that we love and we can comment on in our, you know, with a budgie voice.
Sure.
Yeah.
How do you think towards measurement of those things? Because like the way I see it, especially from a performance perspective, you're always like, where's the ROI? Or like, I'm spending money on Meta, for example, and I can see X as a return. A lot of these things that you might invest in, you're like,
mate, it's so hard. Like, I don't actually have a good answer, like, because I remember when we got a marketing consultant in and he looked at the budget for the year and he's like, mate, you're spending 25% on a competition to find the most ordinary bloke in the world. I'm like, yep. And then like maybe of our total budget, like 20% of marketing was on paid. And so like
much more was going on to these like events.
80% was on vibe sort of activities. And now we're shifting that to maybe like 50-50 for us. So we're, you know, and also it's got a little bit trickier to entertain and really break through now. So, so for us, the balance at the moment is about 50% vibe stuff, 50% like paid, more performance marketing, and then we'll just try and stagger it so it's like a rolling series of events with different brands that we love. Better Beer's one of them. So we'll try and roll it. So it might be like an AFL launch one month, and then the next month it'll be rolling into something else. So it's giving a different variety of communities a chance to shine a spotlight on. Community ones, like it's a big cricket season coming up. So we'll be we've got a like major partnership with the McGrath Foundation. So more community stuff.
Got it.
Like that, because it's no one like totally knocks it out of the park and you're going to retire off.
Sure.
So it's sort of just have a rolling series of activity. That might be once a month or once a quarter. We do a lot of product collabs, so that's relatively simple for us because we make all the swimwear here again.
Sure.
We'll do an athlete collab where we'll both, you know, do like a shared revenue model. So there's different options like that. I like
what you've done because I feel like it's like traditional. I mean, from a lot of the brands and companies that I've worked with, it almost goes the opposite direction in terms of like much less emphasis on paid, much less emphasis on like most brands I find these days come to market. They've got a product, they spin up some meta ads, they put together a whole bunch of content. Flesh out some like USPs or something that kind of like really, you know, push the market, push the penetration through, and they just drive meta ads until they can't drive them anymore. And then they go, all right, let's do some partnerships or influencers. And you've almost like completely inverted that. And you're like, let's just do this and create this community of people that like love what we do. And they're like evangelic for the brand. And then it's like, it's really interesting because I feel like it's that adage of like, 3 + 7 is 10, or like, 6 + 4 is 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like whichever way you skin it, you can still achieve the result.
Yeah. So for me, like I like people and like human connection, face to face, and that's a part of the brand. Like, don't generally fall in love with a brand over a meta post. So, but that's been a long slog. Like when I was in the UK and setting up Budgie Smugglers in the UK, once a week I would go to a different sporting club and have beers with the injured players. Like,
wow.
Like, so, that's a lot of beers.
Oh damn.
Yeah, oh damn.
Lucky you like beers.
It was a great time, but that was a lot of like physically getting out there, and then a lot of them became our most loved ambassadors and have helped us so much around the world. So that worked for me, and that's like my personality, and Budgie's personality is still about the sort of human connection. And, you know, but I also think if I was giving an honest, like, look back, we probably were a little bit, or have been a little bit light on the, on hammering the message enough so that, like, again, if 70% of Australia doesn't know us, like, it's hard to do it beach by beach and physical pop-up stores and that sort of thing. So we actually probably need to shift the balance back to what more people do at the start.
More of a, because it seems like it's interesting. I had a conversation recently where it was like a lot of people fail because they, for example, have too short of a timeline, and they're like, well, I want to get to $10 million in 2.5 years or whatever it might be. And so they have this huge kind of revenue target in a very small amount of time.
Yeah.
And then they get halfway through and they haven't even done 10%. And they're like, I fail, I quit.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting because it seems like you're playing a game with like a really, not infinite, but a very long timeline. It seems like you've got a big mission. And so because of that, you're just like working and just pushing through.
Yeah. So my friends used to joke that it was just like an expensive hobby, which at times has been true. Like if you're losing money for, 8 years, I was putting in, instead of holidays and that, I was often just putting the money back into Budgie to do funny stunts or whatever. So it is a hobby for me, and my timeline probably is pretty long. And it's got to a point now where it can provide a pretty good life for me as well. So that gives me some time and space. But I do have some urgency. Like, our staff are in Sydney, and I want to be a place where people can work and afford a house. And the house prices are pretty high. So how do we generate a business that can make careers for them that are more interesting, that they have, they can purchase a place near our office and have good lives. So there's some pressure that I feel on myself to deliver for our team. So that's important to me. But I'm also okay if it takes us like 3, 4, 5, 10 years to get there. Like, we don't have any investment. I own 100%. So it's not urgent if it's 30% growth next year or 13% growth. If we can hit somewhere probably in between that, that's a pretty firm effort. And if you do that year after year, we're going to end up in a good spot.
Has becoming a dad changed things in terms of urgency?
It's changed things in terms of time. And time and sleep are probably the two different things. So I'm pretty lucky. I've got two boys, and they're both healthy and generally happy kids. But just the main thing is, like, you've got two people who rely on you. I've got a very supportive wife and partner. So she takes on a lot of the emotional and support for the family unit. But just like, I'd encourage people, when you are in your 20s and you don't have kids, like, absolutely go for it. Now I've just had to like adjust my lifestyle to cater for the kids. So like, they're up every day at 6-ish, say. So it's just like, I start my day at 5, and then I get 2 or 3 hours of work in, and then I can come and help with the kids, get them off to daycare or pick them up in the afternoon. So you just have to adjust. I think I tried to continue on for a little bit of time, like
at the same rate. It
hadn't happened, and it's like, mate, it's happened. Well, the first boy was born during COVID, so that was actually a soft landing because we couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
And business, for anyone doing a business online then, it was a good time because government was giving everyone $750 a week, even if you were 18. So it was like, YOLO, I'll get 7 new smugglers, please. and then we've come back to reality. So yeah, I love it. It's great. It's just no midweek drinking anymore. Most of the time. It was State of Origin last night, so it was acceptable. Thank you.
Except for after this, once we get into the budgies and have a beer.
That's it. Let's go.
What were some of the mistakes that you made in terms of like, you know, the things where you might have like fallen on your face and had some real kind of like stuff ups that you feel like were costly, or just like you're like, how the fuck did I not see that?
There's been a few. One stuff up we didn't make was getting the IP right. So I had to borrow the money to do it, but we got the Budgie Smuggler name secured around the world shortly after. The original guys had it in Australia, and we got it in, I think it's called WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization, or something like that. And they can do like a whole host of countries at once. So we spent some time doing that to lock in the IP, and we've had quite a lot of people pop up soon after and start selling stuff with Budgie Smuggler on it. So that gave us a lot of protection. So that's a mistake we didn't make. So I'd really encourage people, when they're, especially if it's a brand name that's going to be important, like just check no one else has it. I've seen some people go, oh, there's a guy in the US, but he's not really using it. Like it'll come to bite you. So pick a name that no one's got. In terms of stuff ups, like, I don't know, they happen all the time. The most stark one that I remember was we had a new sewer start in the factory, and she didn't finish off the seam on all the pairs. And so it was before Christmas one year, and we had about 3,000 pairs go out, and everyone would break up in the first wear. So then it's like, you're supposed to be like Australian made quality, and mate, my pair's broken after like putting it on. So like when that happens, we just had to, one, figure out the problem, which was just putting this, it's called a bar tag that stops it unraveling. And then two, figure out our way through it to let everyone know who got them, hey, this will probably happen. But then we had 3 different makers. We didn't know which ones had made what. So now we have we have one main factory and 1 or 2 smaller ones. So everyone has their own unique sort of batch code, I guess, that can unpick that. So if there was an area, you want to be able to identify where quality controls come from and not mix your stock. And yeah, most people were like, thank you so much for reaching out. Like, we just gave everyone a voucher for a new pair, but then there was a chance that it might be another faulty one. So I just said, we'll just keep going until
you get it right.
Until you get it right. And, you know, we could manually figure out some of it, but not all of it. So, batch control, there you go. Would be one tip.
What do you think drives you the most in terms of like building the business, making the sacrifices? Because you seem like it seems like you just have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I think I worked for 1 year when I finished uni. So I did arts commerce at Sydney Uni, and everyone was going into finance. This is just before the GFC.
Oh, right.
So I was doing finance honours at Sydney Uni. A lot of the guys went into investment banking. And then I was like, I didn't really like the vibe when they started working there. And then they were getting flogged like crazy hours. So I was like, So I took a job as a graduate at ANZ in business banking. And I had a great boss. It was a great program. You got to go to Melbourne and big piss-ups and stuff. It was great fun. And then, but then you come back and you're working every day in the office and having to follow like stupid processes. And I just used to sit there each day just looking out the window going like, there is so many better things I could be doing with my life right now. And so I think I've always taken that with me. Like, I've had a corporate job and it was not much fun. And then it was the GFC. So they fired 5,000 people in a day once.
Wow.
So that was brutal. And they sent me not long after to a careers fair, ironically, at DYRSL, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just literally mainly blokes coming through with their resumes being like, mate, I've got a wife, a family, a kid, I need a job. So I'm just like, we're just taking resumes. But the bank has a hiring freeze, so none of these guys had a chance. And so I think for me, I feel lucky. I kind of made a call there that I didn't ever want to be in that position in my life, and that I'd have to do my own thing basically and figure that out. Because it was maybe sold to me before, or I thought it was sold to me that working at a big company was the most safe thing you can ever do. And then you go through something like the GFC and them firing 5,000 in a day, and you're like, oh, no, you're just a number. It's actually one of the most risky things that you can do. So people think that Budgie was a risk, but I was like, the bigger risk was, and fuck, it was a bit like no one was wearing Budgie Smugglers really 20 years ago. Board shorts were past the knee. It was a long shot. Yeah. But I was like, I'm 100% going to be unhappy in a kind of corporate career. And even if you do well for a while, there's a good chance you're going to get fucked at some point. So, I guess I feel sort of pretty lucky in that sense. And then because we've been able to engineer, like our team are awesome. I love them. So I get to work with just like the best people. Got a lot of my family, pretty much all of my family work in the business. So that's good and bad. No, love you, mum. She does the accounts. Nice. So we've got like, it's a pretty good setup in that regard. And then like the athletes and stuff we get to work with, like it's good fun. So, we've been able to engineer something that's pretty cool, pretty fun.
How do you think about risk? You mentioned risk there before in terms of the job's a bigger risk than, starting your business. How do you measure up risks, like with your perspective on, let's go and do this project, let's go and invest in this person, let's go and do this collaboration, let's go and, get a loan to give this guy 10 grand. Like, what's the process? How do you rationalize appropriate risk, too much risk, yes, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you measure that?
We still, a lot of it is on gut feel, but we're at a scale now where it can't just be my gut feel, because if you take a couple of punts and you get them wrong, you can land the whole team into trouble. So I'd probably say 50% gut feel vibes, 50% fact check some data, and not all of it with yes people or no people. Run some scenarios, and often the best thing to do is to do nothing as well. So probably some of your listeners will find this, that you start getting inbound traffic of people wanting to do stuff with you. And for us, it's quite a lot now. It could be 10 or 20 inquiries a day of people wanting to do partnerships. And how do you respectfully say no, we're not able to do it? It's actually a challenge in its own way. And if anything, we're trying to strip back and do less. So take a little bit of gut feel, a little bit of educated numbers, whatever, and then if it's a good bet, go twice as hard as it. Not all risks are even.
What's the next target? What's something that you guys are going after at the moment from maybe something that you can talk about that's a scary, you're we want her, we want her, we want him, we want that person.
I want a rooftop pool at our warehouse.
Got it.
So the goal for us over the next 2.5 years is to do well enough that we can, and we're literally in a warehouse, and so it's fucking cold in the winter and pretty hot in the summer. It's a tin roof. There is some rooms with air conditioning, but the big goal is 2028. That's going to be 25 years ish of Budgie.
Got it.
20 years of me doing Budgie and 25 years of Budgie overall. So I want a rooftop pool in Brookvale, which is ridiculous because it's like an industrial area. And that's the mission between for the next 2 and a bit years.
Love it. Is that for the team? That's for people to get
into? Yeah, that's for the team. It's not a public. It's not a public pool, but we were thinking that like maybe anyone who there could be some membership process.
That's what I was thinking. Bring the customers in.
Yeah, but go back to order one. So like that's the guest list is actually, did you purchase before 2010? All right, you get like a gold membership.
Special, yeah.
Yeah, a Falcon membership.
Eagle membership.
Like I'm thinking pool, bar, you can watch sports there. Maybe there's a 25-meter lap pool as part of it. Staff can bring their families there on the weekends or after work.
Love that.
I've been looking at a lot of rooftop pools lately, Sasha. It's a fucking full-time job, mate. Just checking them out. Barcelona, great. Just got pools here, pools there.
What time you spent on the performance marketing?
Yeah.
Where's that rooftop pool?
Yeah, I would have checked it, I reckon, 30 times. Just
this morning.
Not this. G'day. No, that, and it's because that would be the symbol that we're doing well, that maybe the paid marketing, that all these other things in the business are coming together. I like that we've gone from the walk-in robe to the bedroom to the apartment to the warehouse with air conditioning to, I don't know, like if there's a yoga studio or something like that in it. I like the journey that it's on, and it's helps with our team as well if you can see that you're going somewhere.
What's maybe the biggest piece of advice that you would give somebody based on the lessons that you've kind of gone through in your brand, the things that have worked the best that you'd be like, just do this, or try and implement this into your company if you were maybe speaking to your younger self, or you were speaking to like a new founder that was just like starting out?
Yeah, I think finding your niche or what you're good at and going hard at it, and then just get one or two sounding boards around you who've done it before. That's probably the one thing I didn't do enough, and the times I did, they were sometimes revolutionary. Like the guy from Mambo, Andrew Rich, one half of Mambo, was like one of my big early mentors, I guess.
Got it.
And I met with him. I remember at a beach. We were at Palm Beach, the north and northern beaches in Sydney. And he said, "What's your plans?" And I went to college in America. I'm like, "We're going to go to America. We're going to do all this." And he's like, "All right, mate. Like, what are you turning over?" I'm like, "Oh, that's a bit of a rude question." Said 180 grand, I think. We were doing about 100, but 180 was forecast. And he goes, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "Look out at the beach there." And I'm like, "Yep." And he goes, "How many people do you see wearing Smugglers?" I go, "Well, none, but one earlier." And he goes, "All right, so like you can't even win your home beaches here in Sydney, and you're going to go and take on America?" It's like, I don't know if that's going to work. He's like, "This fish and chip shop here is doing more turnover than you, mate. Like, you got to own your own backyard before you can take on the world." And so that sort of reset me to go, all right, we've got to become a well-known brand in Sydney, and when I go to my local beach in Manly, everyone needs to be wearing budgies versus, there's just so many problems around the world you can try and tackle. So that was a good piece of advice. Like, know what you're good at and go hard at that and own everyone in your niche. I read the story the other day of the guy with the motorcycle stickers. He's an Aussie guy, I think, but like the market size is, I don't know, like $30 million a year. And he said, "I'm going to be the number one guy at motorcycle stickers." And now he's doing 15 or 20 million US dollars, and he's got like 60% of the market. And you're like, just finding your niche, what you're good at, and not trying to maybe spread yourself too thin and tackle 5 problems at once. Pick the one or two that you're the boss at?
I've got a close friend, and him and some of his partners, they have a company out of the Gold Coast in Burleigh, actually, selling motorcycle parts and accessories, and they've reached the Australian TAM, like they've capped out of customers. And I'm like, isn't that a great achievement? You know what I mean? I'm like, most of the time people build a business and they're like, oh, the Australian market's too small, I'm going to go to the US. Mm-hmm. Or it's unscalable for us to do this anymore, let's go and launch another product line. And like, this is the only person I've ever met that's physically in a position where they cannot spend more budget.
Yeah.
We've exhausted the customer base.
That's hectic.
Wow. You know what I mean? Everything else is your own self-imposed thing that you can't solve for your business.
Yeah. That's
brilliant. Yeah.
That's hectic. And 100% of 20 million, or you know, whatever the figure is you're probably going to have a pretty good business. And like, sort of reflecting before, like we're just kind of narrowing down on France, UK, Australia at the moment before we jump into the US, because, you know, 25 of us, it's too much to all tackle at once.
Yeah. Dude, I'm super inspired by your story, mainly just because I think you break a lot of the rules almost, and your brand breaks a lot of the rules in the way that, like, what the product does, the way that it communicates to the audience. And I think that's why it's been so successful and people have received it. It's like that joking kind of humorous positioning, and it comes from you. You know what I mean? I'm like, you as the founder, you're like a living, breathing expression of that, and super refreshing. You know, speaking to you, hearing your story, and hearing the way that you think about investments as well. I think a lot of people will get a lot of value from this conversation. So I appreciate you.
Cool. Well, I love it. So it was great to come in here and have you on.
Thanks so much.
Cheers, Sasha.